Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 51 of Vito X DINO podcast. My name is Vito Delsante. His name is Dean Haspiel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dean Haspiel.
And Happy New Year, everybody. It's been a couple of days since Happy New Year's happened. Uh,
Happy New Year. What did you do?
Nothing. I'm still drinking coquito, though. So this might be an interesting
Nice.
show. But no, yeah, we just stayed home. We all stayed up to watch the ball and then bed right after.
What did I do? I had a couple of opportunities to go either hang out with Mike Houston and family or go to an art party in Long Island City, courtesy of Peter Rostovsky. And it was just so cold, and I've been feeling something that I'll talk about in a minute.
Mhm.
And I decided, you know what? Let me just stay home. Part of me wanted to watch the Poseidon Adventure,
Yeah.
not only because it's a great New Year's Eve movie, but my godmother, it's a great story. And I almost want to make it like a tradition, but then Jen was like, I don't want to watch that movie. I was like, well, then we're gonna watch Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, or whatever the last reckoning. I don't know remember what reckoning it is, but it was the most recent
It's the
one.
final reckoning. Yeah.
And I saw it in the theater and I loved it. And I wanted her to see it because she agrees with me. Tom Cruise is awesome. And those Mission Impossible movies are awesome.
Yeah.
And she had not seen it. And man, I was so emotional watching an action film. It's insane. Like
Happens.
I think it's also because in a way, it's like Tom Cruise's superhero movie,
Yeah, absolutely.
it has the tenets of a superhero, like a Captain America type thing.
Right.
And I loved it. Then we ended that around 11, put on the TV set for, see who might be singing and dancing, caught some of those acts, which was fun.
I
It's also
texted
weird.
you. I texted you about Diana Ross, I think.
Diana Ross, right? Which I got to dig up a picture because my first concert was Diana Ross, and she
Yeah.
came down the stage while singing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" or something like that, and walked right up to me. And my father took a picture of me and her when I was like 12 in the audience
That's
at a
amazing.
concert like in Manhattan somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, and then I have another weird story I think I might have told before. But yeah, so then Jen was like ready to crash after midnight. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just check out more of this stupid stuff. And I had this weird moment of like, Pitbull, the rapper, I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah.
or what a corny,
Yep.
dumb, stupid. Like, I don't mean he's stupid, but whatever his act is,
Yeah.
and it was done in Vegas because they kept going to Vegas and hopping all over the place. And Vegas is dumb. It is stupid. That kind of entertainment, Vito, it's whack, man. I'm sorry. Fine, I get it. It's a certain kind of spectacle, but good God, it's the lowest common denominator of entertainment.
Sure. I mean, that's what it is. It's where entertainment goes to die.
Absolutely,
Like,
man. And
I mean,
like,
and I've had my fun in Vegas. I've gone to different shows and whatnot. And the big celebrity shows in Vegas are not the fun part. The fun part is going to see like showgirl shows or like magician shows that are off the strip or something like that. Like, it's
right.
not like the big Celine Dion spectacle things.
Sure. Or when they do a residency, some like
Right.
artist does a
Like,
year and a half residency or whatever, and you keep
yeah.
thinking, oh, they either sold out, which I don't care about that term,
Mhm.
or they just got like at the end of their career, and this is how they're going to make their
Yeah.
last nugget,
Yeah,
right?
that's I mean, and again, that's why I said it's where entertainment goes to die. But I mean, there's still a lot of entertainment in Vegas that's very entertaining and
Well,
fun.
I think it's spectacle. In other words,
Yeah.
there's entertainment like Tom Cruise, okay, maybe with a heart, accidentally or on purpose. But then there's like, wow, I'm just going to go and watch asses shake
Mhm.
and someone MC those asses shaking. And again, it sounds like old man Dean, like where what happened, but it's just there's just nothing to me. Sorry, there's just nothing to it, man. Like
Write this down. Write down Old Man Dean and then slash Old Man Logan, and that's the last comic you ever draw.
old man Dean, the
Yeah,
end,
you gotta.
the end. Oh my God. And I
I
think
mean,
so. What I was going to say though is I realized I'm burnt out. I don't know how you feel, Vito.
by what?
I'm I'm burnt out. I'm not going to say by life. I'm burnt out by what is going on in America, which we'll
Sure.
discuss. I'm burnt out by uh sitting here working on pages that I hope people will want to eventually read and enjoy and help perpetuate my career, which
Mm.
is always a gamble. There's nothing written in stone, and I'm very grateful for the people who, well, actually that was something I wrote about in the beat, the comics
Mhm.
beat,
Mhm.
was talking about you know, creative autonomy. Hopefully that'll be a thing for 2026, which I truly believe there'll be more and more of that, to the point where I even joked about how if you don't publish 3 comics, I'm going to deck you in
Yeah, which I
2026.
put on my Substack. Thank you very much for mentioning me. You didn't
You're
have to,
welcome.
but it's funny enough that I already like it looks like 3 is definite. Like there's Stray
You mean
number
three
3.
comics, three
Yeah,
comics.
Stray number 3, um, Stray the Beast Within,
That's
and
a one shot.
right, and then the Pay the Devil. Those are the 3
Mm.
that. But I realize I have, like I said, it's probably more like 6, and I sent the 4th one off to my co-writer and the artist um, 2 days ago, I think, which is Hellhounds, which is a kind of a creator-owned Stray adjacent. Stray's in it, so it's not Stray adjacent, but like it's just kind of like off the beaten path story of these 4 dog-themed characters. So
Well,
it's
let me ask you, because you're talking about Stray a lot, and doing a third issue, a one shot, and another, basically, is that a one shot too?
yeah, that's a
The
one
the
shot.
Stray. So are you veering into the one shot? Like
I
after
would,
you
yeah, I want to. What I want to do is I would like to. I don't mean to get away from what you were talking about in terms of being burnt out, but just because it came up, I would
Well, we'll
like
get
to,
back to it. We'll get back. Yeah,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
would like to do 2 issues of Stray, the Requiem story that I'm doing, which is what has been kickstarted and everything, and I would like to do 2 a year. Right now, at least one is going to be done this year, and the one shots are just fun to figure out. Like they're just like it's just a nice way to keep people um, and keep the property out there for people to discover. So if it leads back to Requiem, that's fine. I do want to do bigger, longer form stories, uh, like Terminus and Genesis, which are one story but told from 2 different angles of Stray. Um, I want to do those, but I feel like these are the things right now that I would like to just to keep busy and just to keep my publisher hat on. Like I'm doing them with Charlie or through Charlie, I should say, with Blind Squirrel and Zion. But for the most part, like I do want to figure out a way. That's why I say 6 is the potential number because we could do number 4 at the end of the year, and then we could also do a Golden Guard number 3, which has been drawn. So
And you
like
haven't even mentioned
definitely
your
there's
bootleg. You haven't even
yeah.
mentioned the bootleg.
No, I haven't. And like again, like there's a ton of stuff that I could easily do. It's just right now, like those are the 4 things that I know are happening immediately.
So you're talking about branding and optics, of
Mhm.
course, and showing up in the comic shop, or at least showing up in the comic sphere.
Yeah,
And we've been talking comic shop, and like, I was also talking about Power Pulp, which is a
yeah.
distribution company that also publishes. Um, but like when it comes to you, have you not considered the one man anthology? You're the writer, and then you put it under an umbrella title.
The problem with doing a one-man anthology for me is that number one, logistics. If I'm doing 4 stories, is that 4 separate artists? Is that
Yeah, but you're for lack of a better uh, what do you call it? Analogy is Stanley Presents.
no,
You're
yeah,
the
no.
Vito, right?
Right. And I have an anthology that I've plotted. I don't know if I'm going to get to it this year, but I do want to get to it because it leads into a bunch of those secondary stories, like those bigger stories that I want to tell. I have a character that is basically a D&D character come to life.
Mm,
So he's a hero
hmm.
and he's very Thor adjacent, like he's almost like a Thor character, but he was rolled, with a magic D20 rolled to life. So the fun of that is the thinking about how that character breaks the rules of the universe, in universe. Like, can he be killed? Probably, but it's more like he'd have to be erased. Can he turn upside down, like if you have like an event like a dark side kind of anti-life equation type of event, does that affect him? Probably not, because he's not really alive. So it's like he's kind of a linchpin character, and I don't want to say that with, and give it away too much, but
Hmm.
he's so crucial to the ideas of the Axioverse and all those other things,
Hmm.
that like
Hmm.
he can shift in and out of realities without even. He's got an axe uh called the Twilight Reaver, that if he can use it to turn day to night or night to day,
Hmm.
but more importantly, he can literally cut through reality with it
Hmm.
and just step into another reality. So you can
Hmm.
see that that's like a very, number one, a powerful weapon, but more importantly, it's a very uh, MacGuffin type of weapon.
Well, it's a fun tool to use for
Right,
narrative purposes, and like it can also be like a way to get out of things, right?
right.
But
It's totally, it's not just a MacGuffin. It's also like a Deus Ex Machina.
yeah,
Like
and it needs like a kryptonite aspect to it, so
right.
that when it works, when it doesn't work. But also, you're reminding me of John Eric Hexman Voyagers, which I think is that
Yes,
one of
one of
your
my favorite
favorite,
movies, or
yeah,
favorite TV shows, I should say.
TV shows. So like that time thing. But you just made me come up with a basic pitch.
Uh-huh.
I feel like you, Neil Clyde, like so many different writers could have a lot of fun writing. And
Uh-huh.
that is, wait, hold on. What's up? I love emo boys. I'm about to say something really
First of
fascinating.
all, we don't talk about that. I want to show this whole podcast a wonderful picture I took last month.
Last month.
Okay. Is that a deer?
Yep.
Is that real?
Yeah.
It
Oh,
has
where did you
its
take that
tongue
picture
sticking
at?
out.
In our yard.
I was in our yard.
That's
Cool.
incredible. So describe the picture to the listeners.
Yeah. So for the podcast listeners,
Yes, Sadie.
I have a podcast. I got this. Stupid little deer sticking his tongue out.
Stupid. Come
Stupid.
on.
yeah, it's like a doe.
Little face.
Well,
It's like a little.
it's not a doe, it's a duh. It's a duh.
A duh.
Thanks for
That's a good
sharing.
one. Thank you,
So,
Sadie, and her "I Love Emo Boys" shirt that we got.
so here's the pitch. Remember the comic book series Dial H for Hero?
Absolutely.
So I think the premise was that there was like a watch or something, and when you dialed, I guess H, you could get every issue you could get a different superpower. And I
Yeah,
don't know if it was the
it
same
was more
kid or
like a
not.
phone dial, like an old rotary phone.
Yeah. So like a rotary phone dial on whatever, and I think it might have been the same kid
Mhm.
every issue that would then have another adventure and have to dial. And then I don't know if he was able to dictate the power and it dictated him in some way,
Mhm.
like, but here's my pitch, which would be so much fun. And maybe it's 12 issues, but Dial H for Hero, but because it's a DC Comics property.
Mhm.
What it does is it dials a Marvel adjacent character power, right? Like Hulk, whatever Captain America is in terms of who he is, like his
Right.
sensibility, Iron Man, Thor, the Thing, whatever, Invisible Woman. Like you could really have fun with like kind of getting away with doing a parody of
Yeah, that's
Marvel characters. And I
that's
think
totally.
I think fans would dig that, because that's such a fan thing, like to
Mhm.
play with.
I
So
feel like they
anyway,
might have done that in Dial H. Not
you mean like
as explicitly stated.
covertly?
Yeah, like almost to where it doesn't, like they never cop to it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they have like their strongman, the people who fly, the
Right.
people who stretch and are on fire. Like they all have their adjacent, but I meant like almost blatantly to the point where it'd have to be a parody. I was joking that I almost wrote on Facebook um, and tagged Eric Larson. I was like, I can't wait to see what Eric Larson does with Betty Boop. You know what I mean? Is that
Yeah,
Betty Boop just
just went into
became,
public domain. Yeah.
yeah, public domain character, and he did something with the first version of Mickey Mouse in Savage Dragon, and I thought,
Mm.
well, give Mickey Mouse a girlfriend, like
Yeah.
with Betty Boop, kind of a thing. And I think some other things just came up as well, which is such a weird. I don't know how I feel about that. I
What
feel
part?
like okay, how do you? I mean, I think you already spiritually do this, but like you probably would love to see other people do Stray, and I would like to see people do Red Hook, for instance. But the idea that in 100 years from the birth of our characters,
Mhm.
it just becomes open to anybody can do what they want, is a weird concept to me.
Oh, fell under my bed.
Well, I can't help you with that right now. Um, yeah, I don't mind it. It would be nice to think, the problem with a lot of the public domain characters that exist without, the copyright lapsing, the ones that didn't have copyright or aren't as,
Hmm.
the truth of the matter is they aren't as good as a Superman or as a Batman or whatever. Um, you have to kind of pull that out of them
Hmm.
in a sense, where you're like taking the character into a maybe into a realm where the character never went to. That's kind of like what Eric Larson did with a lot of those characters at one point.
Sure.
But that said, um, to me, if Stray went into the public domain 100 years from 2013, so 2113 would be the year. Um,
Hmm.
I wish I could be around to see it, because I would like to know what the character is at that point.
Well, that's the other thing. You don't get to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the character is going to be um, when right before I die, much less 100 years from now.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Plus, like when you think about it, creating him probably in my late 30s, early 40s means ideally I'll have 40 years to play with him.
Hmm.
Ideally, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like
Hmm.
if I'm of sound mind and everything.
Hmm.
But the reality is, like who knows? I mean, I once it stops being once it stops being interesting to people, or once I start getting another idea, which I never not have an idea for Stray. It's always coming up. But once it starts being less um, maybe viable, I probably, will stop the character at that point. But who knows if my kids take it up, and then after them, once it goes into public domain, what will the Earth be at that point?
Well, also, you bring up another interesting point, which is how many stories does a character really have that are good, right?
Right?
Like, and I'd say if you can get 50 issues out of a character, that's pretty awesome,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and yeah, they're like, at some point there will be 1,000 issues of Fantastic Four, 1,000 issues of Spider-Man. There may already be 1,000 issues of Batman, like, and like, if you really look at those stories, how many would you want to reread, or how many contributed to the lore, that kind of stuff,
right.
right? So, and we'd be lucky to ever know that,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
so it is interesting. I feel that there are maybe 5 arcs that a character can have that are legit, uh because you got to have resting period in between stuff. It can't be like, when you think about, what was that, 24, Kiefer Sutherland.
Right.
I think he had 7 really bad days. like, like, and he never went to the bathroom in any of those 24 hours, or ate a sandwich. But yeah, that's like almost impossible, right? But it's suspension of disbelief, and it's entertainment, right? So,
Right. I mean, I
but
would like. I don't know that I'm the guy to write it, so I would like. I'll put this out there in the public now. Hopefully, the internet's forever. Hopefully, this is archived and someone sees it 100 years from now. But I would like for someone to do kind of like a space opera with Stray. Like
hmm,
I'm not the guy to do it. Like I know what
hmm,
stories I want to tell. I like using cosmic stuff, but on Earth.
hmm.
Like just to show that contrast. But to put a human element in space, I'm not. I would like to see somebody do that. You know,
Hmm. I almost feel like I could almost do that, because I've
I,
done that with my characters. I
yeah,
just have to figure out an angle for, because I do like the cosmic,
yeah. No, I mean you're more comfortable with Kirby and Kirby
hmm.
language than I am. I think I probably rest somewhere within like Kirby and maybe like a not Toth, but something like that, like something a little more noirish and grounded in realism and stuff. That's
You're
where.
more like you wield, like I would wield a cosmic sword, whereas you would wield a cosmic or a gavel.
Yeah,
Like yours is more about justice,
yeah,
and
I would
not
agree.
that mine isn't, but I
It's
definitely
just the tools of how they use them. Like yeah,
exactly
I
exactly
agree with you.
yeah. So, but going back to the burnt out thing, so like it's also just getting older, man. Like my hands hurt, my
Yeah,
eyes are blurry. Like I hate to keep saying that over and over again, but it's not fun. And also watching my parents get older and every day, like, are they alive? Kind of a
mhm.
thing. And it brings a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. And you're also we take for granted what we're anchored by and who we're anchored by. Like my
Yeah.
studio mate, my girlfriend, my mom, my dad, like you, like
Mhm.
my friends, my peers, like, and we're at that age where not every week, but every 3 weeks, someone we know is going to die,
Yeah.
or someone we admire is going to die.
Right.
And not to be bleak and sad about it, but that's some of the stuff I think about. And so in some ways, when I sit down and I like, even though I've been talking about trying to find the joy in the work, if I can't find the money, um, I'm also super hyper aware that I'm kind of drawing the last batch of my legacy pages, and that's not trying to be like hyperbolic or try to
Right.
elevate myself, but it just is whatever my third act of my work,
Right. Right.
and so I'm feeling, a lot of pressure, my self-imposed pressure.
I I wonder if that's an artistic, physical thing because like when I think about doing like on my end, like here I am trying to start a first act of drawing, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then I look at my writing and I feel like my writing's in the second act, and yet we're not that far away in age. Um, my eyes are messed up, like I have arthritis, I have uh, anxiety and depression. I take medicine for. I'm very open about that, so it's probably common knowledge at this point by anybody that watches this. But I don't feel like I'm at the tail end of it. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm right in the middle, where the mistakes were kind of made to get me here, and
Mhm.
I'm kind
Mhm.
of figuring it out. Like I'm still figuring stuff out. It's still late first act maybe, but I'm still kind of figuring everything out. Keep in mind, you've been doing this since you were 16, maybe 14. Like professionally. On a professional level, if not, semi-amateur into semi-professional. I didn't start doing this till I was like in my 20s.
Mhm.
So like my third act is going to be late probably. Um,
Right.
but who knows when, how quickly I burn out from drawing,
Right.
once I start getting into doing it,
Right.
and it's not like being burnt out. I think a lot of times when people hear burnt out, they think it's not enjoyable anymore. And I don't think that's the case with you. I think it's just revving yourself up for a day at a table. That's the burnout part. Once you get into it, I'm sure like there's things, and like I think you were saying a couple of episodes ago that like you've been working on a panel for like a week,
Mhm.
or something close to that, and that's part of it. I think that's part of like figuring out the process and figuring out
Mhm.
as a storyteller how you want to tell the story. But I also think that, like I said, it's really about sitting down at the table at the beginning of the day and just going, the hell am I drawing? Like what am I doing? Like figuring it out on paper, transferring it to bigger paper or digitally or whatever. And I think that that's the burning out process. Like that's the candle at both ends. That's just trying to be an artist when art has, I wouldn't say has fallen out of favor, but art has been kind of relegated to a maybe aristocratic type of thing, like whereas all the artists I know are not aristocratic or not, swimming in wealth. They're all,
Oh yeah,
you know
no.
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
if they are, God bless them that they
Right.
chose to make comics with and don't have to or don't have to make a living, let's say. But it's funny. I was thinking about just as you were talking, like the fact of the matter is, when I was younger and up to about 5 years ago, but let's just say 10 as well, because I was doing Red Hook and what Hopscotch was
Uh,
doing Red Hook and the Fox and other. Is that I was for so many years auditioning to draw your characters,
right.
their characters, not my own. Maybe invent something in between, but like I was auditioning, hopefully hoping to get a job and get paid to be of service,
Mhm.
to be somewhat of a technician. And now I've veered completely the other way, where I'm like, I don't care if I ever draw yours or their characters
Right.
anymore. I just want to do mine, and that's something of a fear, because I have to own that, right, and really believe that, but
Yeah.
also I have to be somewhat pragmatic, and I'm terrible at being pragmatic. I'm terrible at being practical. And
Yeah. I
and if
don't,
I had been married and had children, I might have those tools. But
I don't have that urge anymore either, though. Like, I don't necessarily want, it would be nice. Let me first say that. It would be nice if CB Cebulski or uh, Jim
Marie
Lee,
Javins, Marie
yeah,
Javins.
Marie is probably a better person. Like if they said, "Hey, are you interested?" That's plenty. You know what I mean? Like it's like at this point, I don't think in terms of Marvel and DC stories. I love the characters, especially DC Comics. I love the characters. But I get more joy out of reading Mark Waid doing it or Matt Fraction doing Batman. Like I like maybe that's just a sucker in me or something like that. But like I don't want to. I don't know what I bring to it as an original person. Like if they're like, here are the keys to the kingdom. What do you want to do with Wildcat or something? Like I don't know that. I mean, that's never going to happen at this point. But um, if it were to happen, I think it's just complimentary in and of itself. Like I don't have to be the guy that takes over something.
Well, also, if you really wanted to do Wildcat, you just design a different costume and call him something else.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that's what's happened.
his name's Razorback. I've already done it.
There you go.
Like it's
There
not
you
he
go.
hasn't shown up yet, but he's there.
Right, right. So, and that's the thing. My only advice to you is, as much as I love and appreciate the 1,000 characters you come up with every day, uh, is to hone that in so that you are. It's not as. I do believe that a fan base is lazy. I'm lazy. I like to look at it. Well, I'm not totally lazy, because I love when a director veers or a
Yeah.
writer veers or an artist veers, and like does something. They already did that style. Like, who was I talking to? They were saying how, Alex Ross is an incredible painter and basically, is the Norman Rockwell of comics, right? But he's never changed it. Like he got there and stayed there. I
I
would
mean,
love to see him break that mode somehow.
there was a period of like if you ever saw his what is it, RoboCop Terminator or Terminator something that he did very early on, and then you see the Full Circle Fantastic Four book, you can see that there's a difference in it, but there is a point where post Kingdom Come, he's kind of found that one style and steady, like that he can be
Yeah.
commercially viable with. But I mean, then again, are you buying an Alex Ross book and not getting Alex Ross if he changes stuff? You know what I mean?
Which
Like,
is weird, because I get it. I get, like, there's an expectation that's been
right,
set, right? But let's keep growing, people. Let's keep
right.
doing stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I whatever. You can say that about a lot of our favorite artists. Like, how much did they actually change? And unless it's a writer artist, and like the writer side of the artist is challenging the artist side of the writer artist.
Right.
I
I mean,
sounds complicated, but
no, like you look at Darwin Cook and you look at his DC showcase pages that he did for like in the 80s, and then you look at Batman Ego and you can already see, like
mhm,
the evolution. And then you look at New Frontier, and then you look at Parker, and you're like, this is like two different guys drawing from the same influences, maybe, but
mhm,
drawing totally completely different. And
mhm.
that's kind of I think what you're getting at. But at the same time, um, there is this signature look that Darwin had that it could be no one else. The only
Right.
other person that maybe comes close is Jay Bone, who did a lot of
Hmm.
inking, and
Hmm.
Jay has done enough of his own stuff that like it falls into that almost house style that Darwin was. The same with Ramon Perez. Ramon.
Mm.
These Most of the Canadian guys I know through Ramon and through Speakeasy Comics, and Ramon has a more lush version of Darwin's style. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, and I don't know that Ramon ever studied under Darwin, but I'm sure there was a trading off of ideas, or like, like, hey, what did you think of this page, or what did you think of that? Um, Whereas, Darwin has an almost classic, I wouldn't say Fleischer-esque animated style, but almost like a Tex Avery kind of animation style or
It's
something.
just classic, man.
Yeah,
It's amazing. It's innovative. It's acceptable is the wrong word. You know what I mean? Like it's great. And actually, did you see the Ink Pulp podcast talk with Ramon Perez?
not recently, no.
Oh, it's really good. And I
Yeah,
and when I saw him, gosh, was it? Oh, I saw him at New York Comic Con this year.
yeah,
But before that, I had seen him at I forget, was it Terrificon? One of those cons where he told me more about the fact that he wasn't writing and drawing as much, that he was running a studio, a business.
yeah.
That
Raid.
Raid and is and he's keeping people working and creating a service, and has cartoonists there, but has other people doing other kinds of things, and he's really become a businessman in a
Yeah,
lot of ways, who manages art
yeah.
and jobs and stuff, and that's fascinating, because in some ways I sometimes wonder if I have that inkling inside me as well,
I
because I
think,
like to put people together and create
yeah, I
communities.
think you do. It's the same kind of, you and I have a similar kind of vibe to us with respect to editorial. Like I think we both know who would make a good story, who to pair who with and stuff. But I think the difference between us and Ramon is that I don't know how much like editorial is only part of the business. Like there's more parts of the business that I'm either unfamiliar with or I'm just completely uncomfortable with. And I think you might fall into that same
Oh yeah,
category
I
as well.
feel uncomfortable. Yeah.
But Ramon, man, like that guy hustled, like hustled his ass off, and showed up just like you always say. You always show up to your party, and just he's capable, and he
Yeah.
does the work, and like whatever he does, I think is just touched by some kind of magic. Like maybe it might be Canada. Like Canadian artists, man, they just seem like they're touched by magic.
Well, Raid was started by had original members was Chip Zdarsky,
Yeah, I think Carl
Cameron
Kerschel.
Stewart, Carl Kerschel, Cameron Stewart, I believe. Like super
Mm,
talented people,
yeah,
and continue to have super talented people. And like so, in some ways, I always wondered if that's where Activate could have gone. Like the webcomics collective that I co-founded and launched. On LiveJournal, and I don't even know if you can look that up anymore. I don't even think there is a Wikipedia page for it. Maybe there is, but
mm,
um, and I did think that, and then we created a physical studio. That was kind of like an online studio of sorts.
right.
Then the physical studio with Deep Six, and then I transitioned to Hang Die. And now Nightwork here. Which you got to come visit
Yeah, I'm gonna try
while
to
you're
come
in
this
town.
week.
Yeah. And so but then the business, something that sustains this, and utilizes our talents and skill sets, but I just can't figure out the business. Plus also, with the pandemic, I feel like, I mean, yes, there's Raid in Canada, which is great, but I don't know how many studios there actually are
Yeah,
anymore. Comic studios. I mean, Steve
it's
Lieber, I believe in
Periscope.
Portland,
Yeah.
Periscope has a studio, and I visited that when I was there a few years ago or years ago,
Mm,
which is cool. But again, I can't even count on one hand how many studios there are.
right. Yeah, I don't. It's funny because like I'll see DJ Kaufman here in Pittsburgh. Well, not
Hmm.
here. I'm in Long Island right now, but
Right.
in Pittsburgh, and I'm always he seems to have something going on always, and I always wonder if
He
that's
did
the
great.
studio of my area. You know what I mean? Like if that's the place, and like he never seems to be very forthcoming with what's going on. It always seems like a secret, kind of not a secret, but like some kind of uh NDAs out the ass, before you
Oh,
can talk.
funny.
You know what I mean? Like, and I know he's working in the NFT sector, which is not something that I'm familiar with, or like,
Right.
but man, he's always surrounded by like a group of people, like whenever I see him, and I don't know if that's part of the work or if that's just part of his mentoring or whatever, but like he's another one that I think is super smart.
Oh, and also there's a studio that's really cool in Maryland that I've been to twice, the last two, Baltimore's. Um, the name escapes me right now, but so they exist,
Mm.
and then there's in your neck of the woods in Pennsylvania, that is Jim Rugg. Is Tom Scioli in
Yeah.
so you got those guys and the late Ed Piskor, obviously. So maybe, but you're in where are you, Katanning or something like
Yeah,
that?
that's just about an hour north of Pittsburgh, a little bit less.
You know who I think lives there? Joan Riley.
Really?
I think she lives there, you
Cool.
know?
I have to look that up.
So maybe I'll try to make a connection. And again, you're a writer, right? So I mean, who's learning to draw? So which we got it. So you got to give me an update on that.
Yeah, I will in a second.
But but maybe there is a way, like put out a call, because I think even if you just met twice a month at a
Mhm.
lunch, I think that's what Chaikin does in California. He meets up with like Dan Panosian and
Dave Johnson,
Dave
probably.
Johnson and maybe Bill Sienkiewicz and Bob Fingerman. They do get together once in a
Mhm.
while so they can complain, you know. But
But I have you.
you got me. We got
Yeah, I do
this.
this every
So
week.
yeah. It is funny because like after I talk to you, and then we have usually a week. I
Mhm.
don't really have as much to complain. I'm holding on to my complaints.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
totally. Like it's like who wants to hear this?
I know. Well, the people listening
Basically.
to this maybe,
Yeah.
uh, but
Well, I mean,
okay.
I mean the complaints, not us
No,
talking.
I know. So what is the update on you drawing?
So I took a couple of days off because of Christmas and everything, and then New Year's happened, and I started going back and redrawing my page, with the coffee.
The coffee page,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's very funny. I don't want to show it yet because it's not completed, but I drew the first panel, and I was like, I'm going to try to do a panel, a night, So I drew the first panel again, and I slept on it, and then I woke up the next day and I looked at it and I was like, his hands in the wrong, not his hand, the door is in the wrong spot. Like
Mm,
because then I started thinking about the next panel already, and
mm-hmm,
if he's walking in the way I had it, I had the door would be covering his face. So it doesn't
mm,
make sense. So I decided to just redo the door and
mm-hmm.
like self-edit already. So like I've
It's
already
all staging. It's all about staging.
yeah.
It's trying to figure out that room that they're in.
And
Like
then
I had to
I've
do
been
that with,
sending you
yeah.
these I've been sending you these Instagram reels of filmmaking things and rule of thirds and like vanishing line and stuff. And I'm just starting to like look at those and just go like, that's what Steve was talking about when he said, like look at it in like in three parts, or something like that. So like I've been trying to use those things as well.
Mhm.
I might be jumping too far ahead in terms of the mechanics. Instead of just sitting down and drawing it, I might be jumping too far ahead in terms of the mechanics and
I think your instinct is right that you're jumping too far ahead because even what you're describing and the videos you've sent me, I've actually realized, oh my God, do I even think like that anymore? I don't even know if I think that way. Like,
right.
because also comics are super forgiving. They're less forgiving in movies when you cross the director's line. You
Hmm.
can cross the director's line much easier in comics. And also, like, I realized I forgot to put a gun in someone's hand, but then I was like, well, there is a panel between when they then raise a gun. So they could have dug in their pocket and pulled out a gun between,
Right.
like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I decided to draw the gun anyway. But anyway, the point is, it's very forgiving. Panels are great because they're units of time. You
Yeah.
know, and you can play with time. I'm a little, you see, I do think I do want to share, and I might actually do a post with your permission
Absolutely.
about when you did your layout and then put it through Nano Banana, because
Yeah, yeah.
that is still to this moment kind of shocking to me in some ways, even
Haunts
though
you.
I knew it, you know. But I also think it's part of maybe my depression and burnout a little bit. Not that what you did, but that it could be done like that so
Right.
easily. So my question to you is, when you decided to go back and draw it again,
Hmm.
how much were you influenced by the Nano Banana?
I mean, I've only done one panel, but not at all. Like
Okay.
that first panel, like what I did instead, I had a long shot where the central figure was walking to a door, and it was very wide, and so I had like the front of the bodega and everything. Whereas now, what I have is a closer shot where the central figure is pushing on the door to walk in. So it's a totally different shot, and I think the Nano Banana one still had him walking outside
No,
of the.
it aped what
Oh,
you
that's right. He
did.
put
The
it
only thing
inside.
is that it put him inside instead of
Right.
outside. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, I didn't influence it at all. Like I've just been, um, I've been rethinking it. Without. It's funny enough, I've forgotten about that. Not so
Right.
much that I
Right.
forgot about the Nano Banana experiment, but
Right.
I've just forgotten about what was in it to even like
Right.
use it. And I know that sounds like maybe I'm hedging my bets and like maybe even lying, but
No, no, that's
like
fair. And
when you see that panel, and
yeah.
especially when you see what I had originally and then see what I did, because I took a
Hmm.
picture of that, I
Hmm.
think it shows that like I wasn't even thinking in terms like it was a learning tool, sure, but like at the same time, like I didn't really take from it, like I just like,
Hmm.
oh, I want to do it. The thing that I'm telling you, the thing that I've been taking from more are those 8 essential shots of Quentin Tarantino or whatever it was that I sent you. You know what I mean? So
Right. Right.
like
Right.
I again, like I might be putting the cart before the horse myself, but I'm
Hmm.
finding those things to be very informative, and like those are the things I'm stealing from.
And also Wallywood's 22 panels that always
Right.
work,
Right. I got to look
obviously,
at
which
those.
I haven't looked at in years, but I'm aware of it. And that's another thing, Vito. Like the first panel could have been the exterior of a bodega or a coffee shop with your main character appearing in the second panel for the first
Right.
time, just a hand handing money, an event, and then the reveal at the very last panel could be the face drinking
Yeah.
coffee. Like it's
Yeah.
how you can dramatize something too, depending on what way you want to go. So
Yeah.
there's so many ways to do it.
That's the interesting thing is that I think, once I'm done with the second run of it, and then, looking at the first run, I wonder if Steve Walker, who teaches at the Society of Illustrators, I believe, or is it the or cartoonist?
No, no, Art Students League.
Art Students League. Thank you. Um, I think he might use this as an exercise for his students. So I wonder how
Mm-hmm.
many of us have, thought the same thing, done it from a different, view, or did something completely different. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
very interested in seeing, once I finish the second run, what
Mm-hmm.
his feedback is going to be, what your feedback is going to be too. So
Well, also, if you think about it, like, because you haven't really written the story, you just come up with a scenario, and now you can instill story in it. And like,
right,
what if the exterior bodega had like a dead man lying on a bench with a knife in his back? Like, that's telling you what kind of neighborhood he's in or what
sure.
bodega he's walking in has walked into, like,
There,
or is it posh or what?
there's a beauty, I think, in how mundane of a scenario this is. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something, it's a very, I hate to bring them up, in the same sentence as saying something mundane, but Adrian Tomine,
Mm-hmm.
R.Q. Cook, Johnson, Michael Cho, they all had these graphic novels that are fantastic, the Optic Nerve, long running series. And there's so much beauty in the mundane, what
Mm-hmm.
they put onto the
Mm-hmm.
page, that it's so much easier to relate to. You
Well,
know?
what you're talking about is kind of what Picard was doing. It was really difficult to
Yes.
draw Picard only because of the mundane that he celebrated, and not as a negative version of the
Right.
word mundane, but like everyday life, slice of
Yeah.
life. Like a person talking on a phone, someone standing waiting on line.
Yeah.
Like stuff that most artists don't want to draw. You know,
Right.
like they're all New Yorker covers, you know?
And I bring that up only because, like, you're right. You can instill a lot of these storytelling elements to embellish certain parts of it or to color it, in a way. But at the same time, like, I'm almost tempted to not, because I feel like, just like you were saying about Harvey, the everyday life is so goddamn, like, complicated. Why complicate it more? You know what I mean? Like, and
Oh,
it's,
you mean because the mundanity of life is complex,
yeah,
you know, in a lot of ways, or it can be, but it does have to do with details. Like, you can relate to waiting online for a coffee or whatever. Or in fact, Owen Brosman, former studio mate Owen Brosman, drew a great one pager about waiting online in Dwayne Reed. And it's the same shot basically over and over again,
yeah,
but it's the conversation that happens. And like that becomes the drama, and
right,
like dealing with standing online while dealing with insanity, some kind of like chaos,
yeah. And
and
I
and
and I
everyone
think,
can relate to that. It's just not that fun to draw,
sure, but I don't know
That's
that.
what it,
You know
but
what
you
I
wouldn't
mean?
know that
Like,
exactly.
I don't know that it's not fun to draw because, number one, I've never drawn 1,000 panels. You know what I mean? I've never drawn 1,000 pages of 4 panels, five
Mm-hmm.
panels. You have. You know what I mean? So I don't know that it's not fun to draw yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'll put that caveat. Like, it will happen at some point, I'm sure. But the the like I said, the beauty of the simplicity of the scenario lends itself, to me anyway, to enhancing the mundanity of it. Do you know what I mean?
Which I do think actually is more and more relatable. Um, it is, I think you will find more readers to, to tell a real human story, let's call it, or a real life slice of life type story.
Mhm.
You'll find more fans of that because it's easier to relate to
Yeah.
versus a man that can fly,
Right.
and now we've seen a man that can fly over and over again. It used to be special. It's not as special,
Yeah.
anymore.
The thing that I'm thinking of, though, is that, in terms of what you were saying, and about enhancing things like that, like, sometimes you'll see, like, an alternative version of a superhero, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't think necessarily that Red Hood is, although I think I can see it falling into that um, kind of
Did you say
square.
Red Hood?
Red Hook. I'm sorry, Red
How
Hood.
dare you?
I've had a couple of drinks, man.
It's
Um,
happened to me. It happens to me.
but,
It's okay.
like, I can't for the life of me think of, like, something that's like, maybe Bernie Moreau, the Jam. Was
Right.
like, where, you have, like, a guy in a superhero costume. He's obviously a superhero, but or, Flaming Carrot, or, uh,
Well, the flaming carrot, I would say,
Flemmy.
is more playing with the abstract absurdness of superheroes,
Right.
Whereas I don't know what Angriest Milkman, what
Yeah,
was his
Reed
name?
Fleming.
Reed Fleming. I could see that being like I always thought that was like a making fun of Harvey Pekar because he just looked like kind of a Harvey Pekar,
I see
but
that
a
now.
little bit of that. But there's not so many. It's funny, Vito, because my new Red Hook comic strip I'm doing,
Hmm.
Red Hook, doesn't have. He had superpowers for a little while, kind of, sort of, with a sword that he could pull out of his chest, and then that ended. But he's a guy. He's just a guy,
Yeah.
right? So I am playing more with the quote mundane, the more domestic version of a Red Hook,
Right.
who's a bartender that happens to also be a reluctant occasional superhero or hero,
Hmm.
anti-hero, and trying to figure out those stories in, small chunks. And would I expand on that? Like, I think my next larger Red Hook story, if I ever get to it, which I'd love to, does deal with a lot of more domestic kind of stuff,
But that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't, because I'm not being forced to, really. But I can't, really see Stray going into CVS trying to buy toilet paper. Do you know what I
But
mean?
you know what? Write that one pager.
But that's what I mean. Like, that's the kind of thing
Yeah.
a lot of people like. Um, maybe not so much in the mainstream superhero comic book buying audience, but a lot of people like to see stuff like that because it presents the absurdity of a person in costume doing what we do every day.
Now set it in Japan, and it's not so absurd anymore because everyone wears a costume. I think
That's
in
true.
Japan, or not
No,
everyone, but cosplay is a daily thing.
it's everyday life. Yeah.
So it almost becomes less. It's almost like you see someone walk in with a costume. Today, man, I saw people walking around in 21-degree weather in just a pair of shorts with their muscle-bound chest because I don't know, are they trying to get laid or something? I don't even understand what's
Trying to
happening.
be hard or
Like,
something.
trying to be hard and like cool or whatever. Or there are people who then wears like outfits that I swear to God, I'll look at someone's outfit. I'll be like, did that take you an hour to put on? That had to have taken an hour, right? Like there's no way, that I would wear an outfit like that. Even
Problem,
to a
dude.
Halloween party.
The problem though is that you wear a black shirt and black jeans,
That's it.
and that's it. Like if you had a closet, it would just be like all black shirts, all black jeans.
Dude, it would be 3 black shirts and 2 black jeans
Yeah.
or blue jeans. That's it. Like and then I wear them for a few days at a time, which I know sounds gross, but
No, that's what jeans are. That's how
that's what we
jeans were
do.
meant to be worn. Believe
That's
me,
right.
according
That's right.
to Levi Strauss himself. I'm not kidding. This is
That's awesome.
irrefutable proof is out there. You can find it.
I'm glad that we were talking a little bit about Harvey Pekar because I've done a thing that I've been not avoiding, but I didn't think I would ever do because we all make things and then we're on to the next. And I never really revisit the stuff I've made. And I need to like look at the 700 pages, the Red Hook that I've drawn because I do want to put a collection together. I do want to tell more stories, but I've already forgotten most of the characters, what they've done, what happened. Like I need to reread, right? But in the spirit of that, or like when you have to like write the next Stray story, you have to find out what the hell happened before, like and you may be able to keep better track of that, but I haven't been able to do that.
Well,
But
there's only a few, yeah.
I've been revisiting, when I'm here alone at the studio, which is often, I've been revisiting a podcast I did with Josh Neufeld.
Yeah, Scene by Scene.
Scene by Scene with Josh and Dean, which was inspired by Star Wars Minute or Star Wars Second? No, Minute? Star Wars Minute that Alex Robinson and God, I forget who he does it with. Is it Tony Consiglio or Dawson? I can't remember.
I don't think it's Dawson.
Anyway,
I think I have Tony, but
and so that's not my jam. I love Star Wars, but I'm not going to listen to a podcast that talks about every minute of a movie. So when Josh proposed the idea to do American Splendor the movie, and I was like, that's cool, but let's do it scene by scene, not minute by minute, and also I wanted to make sure that we also talked about not only us and our relationship with Harvey, but also growing up making comics as kids together, kind of a thing. So that was part of. So anyway, with all that in mind, we did the podcast. We had really great guests. There were only 2 people we never got on the show. One has passed away. It was Joyce Brabner and Paul Giamatti. Okay. And maybe Hope Davis, actually, now that I think about it, would be great. But we got the directors. We got a lot of people who worked on it, Ted Hope and everybody else, So I started listening to it again, and it's not bad. It's actually really good. Now, I might be biased because I hear it with nostalgic ears. I hear it because I'm talking to my buddy Josh, who I grew up with, but I feel like it's a pretty good podcast that breaks down a movie that's still kind of ahead of its time in some ways. A very important movie, American Splendor, about an important comic book writer and important comic books, and so I don't know. I'm talking about it on our podcast, which is more grassroots and conversational, and we wing it a lot, in some ways, which was what I liked about it. Because with Josh, he wanted it to be very professional. He wanted to edit out the ums and the ahs and that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, man, just keep it more relaxed. But I appreciate what he did.
We wouldn't have a podcast if we got rid of ums and ahs on my end.
No.
It would just be you talking to yourself. All I do is stammer. Are you kidding me?
So anyway, I've been re-listening to it, and I just want, if anybody likes our podcast, please check out Scene by Scene with Josh and Dean. I think you can just type it in; it'll pop up somewhere. I believe it might be on Spotify. I don't know if it's. Oh yeah, that is where I'm listening to it. The problem is the most recent episodes, like the last episode. Like you got to go backwards.
Hmm.
I wish it could be arranged where you start at the beginning, but whatever. I think that's true for our podcast. I think it's
Yeah.
just the most recent podcast. That's how it
Hmm.
works. I don't know if there's a button you can press that
You might be
reallocates
able
it
to
to
sort by date
maybe,
or something like
maybe. I
that.
need to look into that. So anyway, I want to mention that, and then another thing I wanted to mention before we get into how great America is right now. I'm going to put up this piece of paper. Can you read that?
Break for Love, Raise.
So Break for Love is a song by a guy named Rays. And I think it came out in the 80s. I don't think it's a 90s song. And it's a song I remember from back in the day that, is corny as hell. It's like not corny, corny, but just like it's like a love song, but it's kind of a little hip hop. And then halfway through the song, basically there's a sample of like a woman having an orgasm or something like that.
Great.
And it's so ridiculous, and I can't stop listening to it. I think part of it is that it's because I've been writing this screenplay that could be a play, that could be a graphic novel, whatever. And I'm going to share it with you because I'd love to talk to you about it.
Okay.
And I actually even changed the title recently. And I kind of fell upon this song that I listened to way back in the day and have put it on repeat because in some ways it's been the soundtrack of this movie I've been writing right now, So it's really silly, and I thought I would just share it with anybody who might be interested in. And that's okay. So going back to the burnout thing a little bit, I had a conversation with Larry O'Neill today. We were hanging out on a couch, and he just finished working on a film that he co-produced, co-wrote, co-directed, feature, indie film. And he's gearing up to write something that he would fully direct his own, hopefully this year. And I'm super encouraging. I hope he can do it. And he said to me, well, what are you planning this year? And I already know that I need to complete Antimatter #1. And I'd like to, not that I want to do another campaign, but I'd like to do a second issue, if not a third. And I already have plans, and I'm excited by the stories. I may not be as thrilled to sit down and draw it because, again, the physical
Yeah, you
limitation
would
of
have to
such a
draw it
field.
almost consecutively. Like you
Yeah.
never stop.
So we'll see what happens. But what I'm even more excited about is the idea, I don't know if it can happen, of, I've written a couple of plays and I would love to direct, new plays. I'd love to direct one of them and have this second one produced as well. And maybe somehow sell this screenplay I've written to, again, I'd love to be able to direct this, but that's a bigger,
Sure.
can of worms, to deal with. But so what keeps me going besides lathering at when we talk, and hanging out with certain people, who I love, and that we make things together and go do things together, is projects, right? And believing in projects and believing that they can be entertaining and sometimes important, maybe even, not that I'm trying to make something important, but that's important to me, and so I guess it's not a New Year's resolution. I don't do that anymore.
Right.
But just like me saying you better put out 3 comics this year, like, do you feel like, did you have a resolution of
No,
any
you know what
kind?
it was? It's funny because the the Stray Hellhound story was the first thing that I was like, oh, I forgot I had this and I need to get input from the other creators. Let's make that happen this year. You know what I mean? Like that was it. That was really it. Like it wasn't. I I don't remember the last time I made a resolution of any kind. Like it doesn't mean that I don't think in terms of. Funny enough, today Michelle turned to me. We were watching. Um, it was Fred Armisen. He was doing accents of the United States, and he did Baltimore. She goes, "Oh, by the way, we're going to Baltimore this year. I don't care what anybody says. Like I'm saving money from taxes. I don't care what it is. We're going to Baltimore." So, hey, Shelly
Nice.
and Mark, we're coming to Baltimore. Just Brad make sure you have the room big enough. I don't know what to tell you. My wife wants to come to Baltimore.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that was really that. And Sadie turns 13 in next month.
Mm,
What is it? Today's the 4th, I think, so
mm.
like in a month and 16 days or something like that. So she'll be 13. So like we're planning her 13th birthday. And like we're just I don't consider those resolutions, but the Hellhound story was the one that's closest to a resolution.
Mm,
Oh, let's put this out too. Like
hmm.
that's really it. Because I know that Stray number 3 is done. Like it's colored. The only thing I have to do is I have to um Matt Major is going to ink the backup, and then we're going to do like a one spot color kind of thing on it as well. And then Pay the Devil is being worked on. Steve texted me some pictures of some pages already, or some panels anyway.
Hmm.
And uh, uh, Beast Within is laid out. It's just a matter of getting it finished and then
Hmm.
doing that. I that's another one I want to play with colors instead of doing like straight up color. What's funny too, like thinking about alternative superheroes. That's another thing about alternative superheroes is they're never colored like in that fully rendered Marvel DC style. There's
Or
always
when they are, but when they are, it always feels like you had an opportunity to not have to do that, you
right,
know?
right,
And again, that aesthetically, I don't mean that you have to. I mean, I like a good 64 color palette,
sure,
flat colors from back in the day, which, evokes old comics,
right.
so, and there was an opportunity to play with that. But like, it's not totally necessary, but, I don't know, man. I just think the older we get as producers of comics, and if we're in the indie lane, the alternative lane, maybe acknowledge that it's alternative by making it look alternative,
Yeah,
or do something wild, just do something
that's what I
different. And
mean.
like,
Like that's I mean, it's also like I love, it sounds counterintuitive, but I love flat colors. Like
yeah,
just you don't have to just it's blue. That's all you need to know.
yeah,
What
exactly.
shade of blue is it? It's that shade of blue. Like that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I love that. Like let the
yeah.
inks speak for the shadows instead of like doing all the other stuff. I love flat colors. I would color everything flat if I could.
Or let the
Probably
colors
will.
do the walking, sometimes like draw less, let color do something,
Yeah.
like if you have that kind of skill set and that vision, like absolutely. And then lettering, you can goof off on lettering. Like I've been hand lettering these Red Hook comic strips, which, hurts my hand, but in general, I was like, I don't know if you can see this. Do you see this? I
I
just like
see
giving
it.
the middle finger. You see the bump in my
Hmm.
hand, right? Like, and then my pinky is also messed up. And I realized that when I would use a brush, I would press my pinky against the side of the art, and then
Yeah.
it would help stabilize. And my pinky is hurting too much because I kind of broke it a year ago, and it never really healed right. And so it's all, I don't know, man. It's just a mess. It's like changing the way I draw, and it's pissing me off because I was getting to such a sweet spot with the brush kind of inking
Mhm.
that I don't really use anymore. I use a Tombow, which is more like a
Pen,
marker
right?
that has give,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. It's just kind of bumming me out a little bit,
If
but
anybody
whatever. Going back to
watching,
the indie thing.
if
Sorry.
anybody watching can somehow isolate Dean saying my pinky hurts, so I can put that as his ringtone on my phone, I would really appreciate that.
Ah,
Just my pinky.
my pinky hurts.
But
It
yeah,
hurted
like,
it.
I think I want to experiment with that kind of coloring for Golden Guard because I do have 3 issues done. Like, might as well, I can just get those out as well.
Yeah.
Just playing with like I don't want to. I'm very much in the lane now of I don't want to do. I don't want to spend a lot of money. Number one. Number
Yeah.
two, I don't want to do more than I have to get the point across.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like if I try to color
Well,
something,
that's what a seasoned creator can do, is to figure out the economy of
right?
creativity,
Oh, maybe I am an
and
actor.
the business of it, of course.
Maybe I am in my act 3.
Oh no. You just jumped you
Yeah,
just
somehow.
jumped over 2 and right
Yeah,
to
yeah.
3.
But yeah, again, like I just like I mentioned that if I am capable enough within the next 5 years or you know, I don't want to put a time limit on it, but if I'm capable enough to do an entire book, I told you that I wanted to do this alternate Marilyn Monroe Black Dahlia story. And like that's the kind of coloring that I would do for something like that. Not necessarily spot coloring like Sin City, but you know, something kind of like Adrian Tomine does in Optic Nerve, or, you
hmm
know, or something minimal but not non-existent, you
hmm
know, if that makes sense.
Josh Ufeld does that. I've
Yeah,
done it. Like lots of cartoonists,
I think you might
do
have done
do
it in Red Hook X Dino, right?
no, what I did was black and white, but it's funny that you say that because when I reprint it ultimately in a collection, what I want to do, because it was cheaper to do it in black and white,
Mm.
but because it would go into a collection that had full color pages in it, I was then going to go in and make the Red Hook red
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you see
that's
his
right.
mask or if he's wearing a costume or whatever. And just because I thought it'd be fun, kind of a
Yeah,
thing. It's
that's
not
the
that hard to do,
you know with Stray, the only thing you really have to color are the gold parts of his costume, because white would be
right?
lineage. He's mostly black, you know, like
Right,
like in its inks and stuff. So it's just levels
right.
of that, I guess. I don't know. Like I'm not a colorist, so I don't know color theory. But like I like I said, I like the idea of flat coloring, like, and I like the idea of like the minimalist, not
Well, we grew up with that too. I mean, that's why, partially. Like
yeah
we
yeah
grew up
like
with that.
flats, yeah.
And I think that today's comics that are often, well, I'll just say over rendered or over colored. It's not that they're over rendered, over colored. It's just a different style
Mhm.
and standard of comics.
Yeah.
And that's usually the mainstream. Although sometimes I'll see somebody that like draws every minute detail and crazy, and it just makes me crazy to look at it. I don't know why, and maybe that's the point. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, um, I was. What did you want to talk about? How great uh
America is. Oh,
America
it's
is?
wonderful. I mean, I say we, even though I wasn't involved in it, but New York elected a Muslim mayor, which was great because the first thing he did was he visited an apartment building and saw that there was no heat and said, "All right, the city's suing the landlord. The city is suing the landlord." That's amazing. Like, I mean, if you're not already on this guy's side, like, I don't know what more you need. Like, you juxtapose that, like, that's leadership. That's somebody that's looking at a problem and saying the solution, we have the resources to enforce a solution. So let's do that. That's what that is. That's leadership. And then on the opposite side, you have a guy who invaded a country for oil, you know,
Yeah.
who said that there will be no wars under his watch, yet he has bombed 8 countries in less than a calendar year of being in office.
And he under he invaded Venezuela for oil under the idea that we were stopping, them from bringing
Trafficking
drugs over
drugs. Yeah.
America. While then in the same week, I believe he gave not permission. What am I trying to say?
Pardon?
Pardon to I forget who, but some big time drug dealers.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
You
I
know,
I don't I don't know that.
and without permission from Congress, by the way. Which
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he did that.
so he's setting a precedent that for something else that's coming up.
But again, remember what the Supreme Court said. If the president breaks the law while he's president, it's not breaking the law. So they've already made this like unactionable. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a mess. It's a mess from top to bottom. And then
Yeah.
in the same week that he invaded another country, it was determined that there was enough evidence that they had some kind of election interference in the 2020 election.
Mm-hmm.
2020? Is
Mm-hmm.
that right?
And I think they dropped at midnight of New Year's. They
Right.
put that out like when nobody's paying attention, right? I mean,
It's incredible what there are protests left and right now happening. Like I
mhm.
got an email for one in Pittsburgh today, and like there's just so much. Like I don't I don't understand how anybody can still kind of excuse his behavior and
Well,
just
that happened a long time ago. That not understanding is not this week. That's the
No,
first month of his first presidency, as far
yeah,
as
I
I'm
know, but
concerned.
I mean, like, there's something that is just heinous and just like,
Yes,
I can't understand how people can't see with the same eyes that I have. I'm nearsighted, for God's sake, and I can see all this happening.
right,
You know what I mean?
right,
Like, it's so
right.
incredibly uh, myopic, and you
It's
have
sick. It is a sickness. It's given like America, in some ways, America, the experiment has failed in a lot of ways, or it's failed certain expectations, let's say, And I keep maintaining, I know you live in Pennsylvania, and I actually really like Pennsylvania. And I like a lot of parts of America I've visited, but I keep thinking, oh my God, I guess I live in New York City, and maybe someday we won't be a part of America anymore.
mm,
Like, I mean, I know that's like the red hook, Brooklyn seceding
seceding.
from New York and America. And of course, I've already, quote, thought that way in very broad terms,
Mm,
not in such specific terms.
mm,
And like Jen was like, Jen is freaking out. Like my girlfriend, and I'm like, don't watch the news anymore. You can't. There's
yeah,
nothing you can do. Don't watch it. And she's like, well, they're touting how America went and saved Venezuela from their dictator. She's like, when is someone going to come and save us from our dictator?
Michelle said the same thing. She said
See,
they could just kidnap presidents. Why don't they kidnap ours?
exactly. Where's our savior?
I don't
You
know.
know?
I don't know where the international court is. I don't know where meaning not where it's located, but where they are in this. I don't know where the UN is in this. I don't know why everyone is silent, except
Yeah,
for like Americans, basically. Like, you don't see many complaints coming from. I mean, yes, there are Americans that are on his side, but yes, there are probably more Americans on the opposite side than we think, because he cheated. Obviously, we now know he cheated and won an election.
yeah,
So if that's the case, then more people are against him than are for him, which is great. Absolutely great. That is proof that we now know that there are more against him than are for him. And it's time that, like, the our congressmen, our senators are all starting to listen to us and do something about this, because it's high time. It's up, like, this this country's ruined. Like, it's just absolutely ruined. Like, there's no repairing it in the next 10 years. Like, it's going to take at least, we are creating the terrorists of tomorrow. We are
yep.
creating the people that are going to attack us in like 10 years. So I read a tweet earlier that said something similar, and I think I posted it on Facebook. It's like, we're creating the illegal immigrants that we're never going to take in, you know,
Right,
by our actions. So
right, right.
again, if we I don't want him to die in office. I want him to die in prison, because
Mm-hmm.
I want there to be a clear symbol of the repercussions of his actions,
Mm-hmm.
and clean the slate. Get Vance out of there. Get Hegseth out. Get them all out. Like,
Yep.
the whole entire cabinet, because they're traitors to the country. Like,
Fucking clowns who don't know anything.
anything.
Don't know. Yeah.
So I'm on board with um, public public hangings of these people. Like, and I'm not usually that type. Like, I'm very much. That's the thing about us, I think, and people like us, is that we read. What's weird is that other people have read the same comics, but like, we've read comics almost all our lives, and we've seen justice defined and explained and um, performed in fantastic acts of human achievement. A man can fly, a man with money, builds things that can help, save people's lives. We've seen this, and the thing is, we're starting to, and especially the younger generation now, we're starting to see that all this money that, say, Elon Musk has, if he took $1 billion away from him, you could wipe out, like, a certain amount of hunger in the world, not just in our country, but in the world. And we're starting to realize that these people are just greedy. Everything that's going on in Venezuela is just for oil and any other resources they have to just totally destroy an entire group of people. and we're kind of getting fed up with it. Like it's my page on Facebook, on my homepage is curated so that I don't have to see much in the way of pro-Trump stuff. Granted, but the people that I have not vetted, like there are people that are like, oh, I make comments too. Let me, at least, like I don't know what their politics are. I just know that they're making comments. But man, I'm just seeing so much like, like get them out, like this is illegal. This is, a crime against humanity. This is, there's I watched a woman in Caracas where the bombing took place. And she was just like in Spanish saying all this stuff about like how this is, you know, not just illegal, but like unconscionable, ungodly, all this stuff, just like the thing that struck me is, and I've seen other videos like this of people that have been bombed and attacked by other countries or whatever. But the thing about this is she was so clear-headed in her message while this like carnage is happening around her. Like obviously it's not happening when she's being interviewed, but like she was so docent and so like clear. Like it was just like, wow, like this is exactly what we need, but
I went to a birthday party in New Jersey last night, and we decided to drive because it would just be easier than trying to figure out public transportation. Unfortunately, it was at 7 o'clock in New Jersey, which means on a Saturday night in New York City, getting in a car and going anywhere basically blows,
yeah.
especially how much it costs to get out of Brooklyn to then go into congestion pricing area for 5 minutes to then go to a tunnel to then like the tolls alone is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we elected to leave at 6 o'clock because we're gonna get there at 6:45, because of Saturday night traffic, which means it probably would have been 20 minutes or a half hour most on a normal day, let's call it. But so it added Saturday night traffic. We get to we're driving up to the point, was it the West Side Highway or something, to then get to where you're going to go, make a right, to then go 2 more blocks to then get into the tunnel. And that's where we got stuck for a half hour, no cars moving, red light, green light, red light, green light, nothing's moving. What's going on? Suddenly I start to see, ambulance lights and whatnot, or not, police lights. And then there's helicopters and nobody is moving. This is like a highway for New York that's constantly moving. What is going on? Finally, we're able to creep up to like where we're supposed to make that turn to then get to that tunnel 2 blocks away. And the cops are all like, no, you can't go that way. And the whole street over there is blocked off. And we're like, what is going on? And we notice as we're driving away, many blocks, helicopters everywhere, more cop cars. Like there must have been 100 cop cars. And it was right next to City Winery, if anybody knows City Winery. Yeah. But so then we have to go creep like a block here, a block there. It takes 10 minutes, like what was supposed to get us there at 6:45, 45-minute car ride turned into 2 hours. All right. That was supposed to be the fast way, the more expensive way, versus the other way. We had just gone the longer way in an hour and 15 minutes, we would have avoided whatever was going on. We're putting on 10 news or whatever. No one is talking about what is happening here. And all I start thinking about, and also that the Venezuelan president was being brought in with his wife. So I'm thinking, is that it? Is that what's happening? Maybe. Were they kind of like, but to what measure? Like you're just bringing more attention, by doing this. So it took forever to get there. I was so pissed off. Also, I hate driving where you're starting, stopping, waiting.
You're a New Yorker, man.
It's ridiculous, like. And so we're looking it up. I don't know what happened. I still don't know what happened. I think there might have been a report about a water main break or something like that from 14th to 34th, but I don't think that's where it happened was by us. And all I kept thinking was like, oh my God, like, is there going to be more war about to happen, in New York City? Because why not bomb the fuck out of New York City? Like, if you're going to be pissed off America, destroy New York City,
Mhm.
destroy California,
Right.
like just hit our biggest resources from making, Hollywood stuff and this and that, all the art or that
Financial
is a
center of
commerce
the
of
world
some
too.
sort, the businesses. And I didn't get paranoid, but it did linger in the back of my head, like what is actually happening? And no one is saying anything. And I
Right.
can't find a report on it.
Yeah. Uh, Two things that I wanted to mention. Did you happen to see Zelensky from Ukraine? What he said?
No.
He goes, "If you're going after dictators, I know one you can go after right now," which is obviously Putin, which I think is just like, yo, the ball's on you, man. I love it.
Yep. Yep.
But and the other thing um, was, oh crap, what was it? Oh yeah, uh, let's not forget that the Epstein files were supposed to be fully redacted and released, and they're late, and they missed their second deadline. This is actually legal, breaking the law, like legally, like they're binding.
But
So
we've already established that he is just breaking the law. And I don't know. Okay, I keep saying him as in Donald Trump, right?
yes, we know.
But it's who's around him, okay? And what is going on? Well, there
Oh,
is no law.
so I want to bring this brings me to a couple of things that I've watched, movies that I've watched, which are very interesting. Um, the first thing I watched it was a 60 minutes from, I want to say 77 or 78. Might even been 79. This is all on YouTube. Uh, and it was about Roy Cohn. You know who Roy Cohn is?
Yep. Uh well, I think he was in Angels in America. He's the lawyer who I think was a closet homosexual.
Right.
But he was kind of evil, right? Like real
He
estate
was,
lawyer type.
let's start with his early career, because after I watched this 60 minutes thing, I was very interested to watch, um, Where's My Roy Cohn is the name of the documentary. It's on YouTube. It's free. I would
And you've
recommend.
seen The Apprentice, right? The movie Apprentice
I
with.
started watching it. I have not finished it. So,
Okay, we'll get
but
to
this
that.
goes
Okay.
into it. So I don't know why I was so interested in this guy, um, but it answers so many questions. Absolutely. And who Roy Cohn is he was the right hand man of Joseph McCarthy, Senator McCarthy, who was involved in persecuting and prosecuting people that were uh, accused of being communists. This also includes breakout, like fallout, cases where, comics were under investigation by uh, Estes Kefauver and the whole Frederick Wertham stuff. This is just like,
Hmm.
all to root out, communist influence in Hollywood as well, the blacklist, etc. So Roy Cohn was his right hand man and did a lot of the, I would say, a lot of the arguments, and you always see him whispering in his ear. The
Mm.
second in command, or second, maybe the left hand, Robert F. Kennedy, which really, like I was like, whoa, this dude was like, on the bad side of history until his brother made him district attorney. Like
Wow.
just like, man, you can't trust anybody. So anyway,
Hmm. Hmm.
then there was another case, and the case that came up after was McCarthy versus the Army. Basically, or what it was basically was there was a guy who was in a relationship with Roy Cohn. I forget his name, and there was some kind of weird rule in the army where they were like, no, he can't work on this case, or he can't work for your investigation because he's an active member of the military. And because Roy Cohn wanted to see him more often, they decided to bring up, and this was the case that almost ruined McCarthy, excuse me. So like it's like crazy, like that, like because of his predilections for that were in the closet, that they took up this case against the army of all people. Um, so then you fast forward, and he becomes an attorney for kind of like high-ranking uh, money, people in America, like businessmen, uh, mafia kingpins and stuff like that, like people with like the wealth of like the Vanderbilts and stuff like that. And throughout it, Roger Stone is also um, in this circle. Roger Stone is scum of the earth as far as I'm concerned. Um, Possibly worse than Trump in many ways. And then you find out that Trump was basically mentored by Roy Cohn, which you find out more of in that the fictional movie, well, not fictional, but based on a true story, kind of fictional, The Apprentice with Sebastian Stan. Um, and this guy just denied who he was until he died, and it just the idea of fomenting so much hate and evil inside of you just because like you're like they were like his mother was the ugliest woman in New York. Like people said this about his mother, and then like she didn't love him as much because he wasn't a good looking kid. Like she was hoping he'd be like, it's the craziest, like all these things that just lead into this person being just, I hesitate to call him evil, but he's not far from it. Like, but I recommend that movies.
And we're talking about Roy Cohn, and he was played by the guy from Succession.
Mark Strong, I think. Was it Mark Strong?
No, I think Mark Strong is another actor.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Is it Jeffrey? You know what? Look him up. But so I saw what's weird about the Apprentice movie with Sebastian Stan playing Donald Trump is it I'm going to say it. It almost gave me empathy for Trump.
That happens.
Because he's kind of a putz,
Jeremy
right? Jeremy Strong.
Sorry.
He's kind of a putz who kind of has ideas, but he really needs the help of these other people and he becomes an acolyte of Cohn, and it isn't until the very end, spoiler of the movie of The Apprentice, where he starts to act more like the Donald Trump that we know today, like starts talking like him, the Donald Trump that we know today. So you do see an origin story emerge here. And in fact, you kind of feel a little bit bad for a teensy moment for Roy Cohn because the fact that he couldn't be gay for reasons that a lot of people couldn't be gay back then. That's contextual, like that's back then when, that was frowned upon or, I mean, I guess he's Jewish, so I guess, you can get certain businesses because of that. But, then he's gay. So it's like it kind of takes away from the Jewish, aspect. So it's complicated. It's also 2-hour movies. There's only so much you can show and whatever. But I did think it was a fascinating because I avoided it. I was like, I'm not going to watch this. Why would I watch this? And then I thought, it's going to be corny, like, stupid, but it was actually really well done.
Yeah.
And it told a certain version of a story, and it did contextualize a little bit, like, how this could happen. But going back to what I was saying before about, you remove Donald Trump and you still have these people around him. Who are they? What are they doing?
I saw pictures from New Year's Eve at Mar-a-Lago, and the only thing I could really focus on, there was a bunch of nonsense happening. Kristi Noem dancing, Stephen Miller there, like these just awful people. But the only thing I could focus on was Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and then right in between them was this tall friggin' Frankenstein of a child.
Barron.
And he looks just like his father. It's just
dude, so that's the comic book or movie or science fiction, story that, I mean, first of all, Barron, it sells itself like already. It like he has got to get rid of that first thing if he wants. But what's going to happen?
He's leaned into it. If you hear stories out of NYU, like he's totally leaned into it. There's that kid. There was some hope for that kid, like after the first administration, the first presidency. But now, no way. Like that kid is
Really?
just
See, I haven't followed through at all. Like I don't know. Like you said, you were almost we were almost all hoping he'd be the one that would
yeah.
save the earth, right? Kind of thing. So
There's even folks, and I mean, I don't. I'm saying this not because I believe it, but because it has come up since the revelation of the 13-year-old girl who got pregnant, etc. But there has been like conjecture that Ivanka Trump was abused by her father, and that she like there people are like, well, we're waiting for her to tell her story, and it's like she's not telling any stories anytime soon. Like she's unfortunately, if that had happened, which I don't believe it did, but if that had happened, I think um, I think she would have been at the top of a staircase and pushed down, just like her
hmm
mother. Oh, did I
hmm
say that out loud? I'm sorry.
hmm Wow. Yeah, I don't deep dive into these people's stories, although that's probably the most interesting part about them is probably the way they were raised,
Right.
because the older we get, the more we learn. It is how you're raised, honestly. Like it's
Yeah.
how you're,
And,
you can veer, you can have mental issue, all that stuff, obviously, like, or like Rob Reiner, what
yeah.
happened? What happened?
Yeah. I
Like,
think the other thing too is that like, and I don't mean to make this political, but there is a certain, from a storyteller point of view, there is a certain fascination with how an entire swath of people can just be mesmerized by somebody who just uses words. You know what I mean? Like it, and it's not like they're not magic words. They're just words you've heard before in a different sentence that suddenly, oh, that's that's the guy. That's the guy that I'm gonna, like make my entire identity. You know what
hmm
I mean? Like
hmm
wearing red hats with his name on it, just nonsense. Like just you have no identity other than who you hate and who you adore. And like
but he
there's
was
so
able
much
to,
more to a person.
absolutely, but he was able to identify how that can work, and is there a majority, if
Yeah.
not at least half of America,
And like I said, as a storyteller, I find that fascinating. I
yeah.
hate it, as a person living in it, but as a storyteller, like that's Dark Side, that's Thanos, that's Doctor Doom, that's and all, or anybody that I create, like that's
hmm
part of that. I actually have a Donald Trump like president in Golden Guard who in issue 3, which like I said is done. We're trying to figure out a way to publish it. Issue 3, he meets Americana, who is like the Captain America female version, patriotic hero, and he's talking to her and one other member of the team, and and as a result of where the country is, she starts losing her powers and aging,
mm.
and like her powers are tied to basically the spirit of America, whatever that is,
Oh my God, like her ideals are aging out.
basically. And so this president, who's modeled after Trump, goes, "It's a shame. You used to be hot," you know, and it's like that's the thing that he would grasp onto. Like he wouldn't, you know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And like it's funny because like I wrote this when he was elected in 2016. I
hmm
wrote this in like 2015, 2016,
hmm
and I can publish it today and it still makes sense.
That's the crazy, like the same thing with COVID copper insurrection, which I'm drawing, which is
Mm.
very abstract and absurd. But there's things that like I wrote 3 years ago that I thought I'd have to change. I don't have to change anything,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I think part of that is because we are seasoned comic book readers and now comic book creators, and there are just some evergreen things, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately and fortunately, you know.
Charlie, if you're reading this, we should probably put out Golden Guard this year as well,
Yeah,
just because
yeah,
it's relevant. It's still relevant. I
yeah.
hate that. You almost hate that. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh no, we've learned. We've learned our,
You wanted it to be outdated because we learned from it.
right. And there's just no way.
Yeah,
Like
there's no way.
it's almost an impossibility.
Yeah.
Oh, what a world.
Uh, yeah, what a world. Well, I was gonna say we could veer into, if you wanted to, to some of our verses, but I think we could save that for
Yeah,
another,
yeah. Let's see
and we
that
could
for
wrap it up.
issue episode 52. Our year anniversary is coming up.
I know, and I don't even know what we're gonna do. I think we're gonna we reach out to one potential guest, and I think we have an idea for another one. So we might have a guest on the show,
Yeah,
which will.
I'm just waiting for a response from the email. Haven't gotten
Right.
one yet. But we're like,
And then also, you and I are going to hopefully hang out this week. Are you coming into the city?
I'm going to come to Brooklyn.
Oh, so you're going to make a
Mecca. I've already.
Mecca.
I'm making a well, my Mecca is Staten Island actually. So we're making plans to go see the boys on Staten Island, Rick and Nick and Ron. I said Rick.
Oh man.
But Nick and Ron.
Well, let me ask you this: you're driving?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about? And I'll have to look at my schedule. If you want to swing by here, pick me up, and we go to Staten Island together and go see the fellas.
Yeah, why not?
Let's see if we can do that. All right.
Yeah, they're like I got some potential dates from them already. So yeah, I'll
all right. Let's see if we can make that happen. All right, man. Well, listen. Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year to you.
Make these comics.
My coquito, so
cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Water.
Oh, 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year of episodes down, man.
I know.
What have we learned? Nothing.
Oh God. I give me time to think about that.
Well, I was going to say, if anything, like I don't know what we've learned, but I know what we're learning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
That's something. Like never stop learning. So
never stop learning.
Everybody, Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for almost 1 year, 1 week away from 1 year of episodes. And we're going to retire. We have one more episode to do this after today. So we're going to retire our call off, but yay, yay.
Yay.
Oh, it's going to be so sad when we come up with something new. Good night, everybody.
Good night.